Hello, everyone, and you're welcome with POP Progress Over Perfection. This is the third episode with Karen from Management Finance or Finance Management 101. Hello, Karen. How are you?
Hello, Mauro. Great to be back.
In this episode, we're going to talk about investing 101. What couple do when investing. You're very passionate about this. You know a lot of stuff. You did very, very well in your life. So I think everybody should listen this episode very, very careful. What do you think couple need to know before to start investing?
Yeah, great question. Because people think they just jump in investing and they don't really have a clue what they're investing in, why they're investing, and do they have their, what I call the financial house in order. And that is, the foundation is like, the first things, when you build a house, you need to make sure you have things in place. Like, do you know your numbers? Do you have a budget in place? Do you know what you're spending your money on? Do you know how to cut back? So for me, a budget is like the foundation of a house. That's the first point. You can't do anything until you know where your money is, what it's doing, what you're spending it on, and where you need to tweak it. And then the next thing is you need to build a savings. So you've got to start getting the walls up, right? You need to start protecting yourself. So you need to have some savings in place, just some emergency fund money. And that is, the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. So whatever your living expenses are, whether it's $5,000 or $2,000 a month, and most people today it's at least 5, sometimes $10,000 a month. If you've got children and education that you send them to, you need to make sure if it's 3 months, you need to have $30,000, which sounds a lot, in an emergency fund. Hot water system goes, the dishwasher goes, or air conditioning goes, things like that, or car breaks down. So you need money put aside. So it takes the pressure off knowing that you can get it fixed straight away. If you don't have an emergency fund, you're leaving yourself in a very raw and uncomfortable position. Savings and emergency fund, that's like the wall. So now you're putting some structure in place. And then we need to look at debt management. So that's like the roof, making sure that things keep leaking out the top. You need to put a roof over this house and you need to manage your debt. So stop getting into more debt and looking at what you're spending, because your budgeting is the slab of the foundation. That's telling you what you're spending and how you can tweak back. And then we need to make sure that your debt's under control, like paying, if you've got a credit card, if you've got personal loans, a car loan, making sure you're starting to manage that, because that's extra money that's going out that really could be going to investing. Okay, so when you're putting money into, apart from your house is the big thing that we all invest in. Most people get into credit card debt, they get into Afterpay, Zips, all these buy now, pay later, and they're getting loans for things like, I want to upgrade my car. So now they get another $30,000 loan. Do they really need to upgrade their car? No, but now they're spending another $700 to $1,000 a month out of their income to pay for something, where that money could go into investing. So, Mauro, I say before you think investing, first, let's get your financial house in order. What's your budgeting? Do you know what you got left over? Do you have some savings in case of emergency, so you're not pulling on your income? Do you have your debt under control? If you've got those three things sorted, then you're in a better position to go and have a conversation with a financial advisor to help work out the right investment structure for you. Because we're all different. I've been in the financial services industry for 40 years and have worked in managed funds and investment banking. I'm a high risk taker because I know what it means to risk and return, meaning how much risk am I going to take for the return I'm going to get? Where a lot of people I talk to they're not comfortable. They can't put their head on the pillow at night knowing that they can afford to take risks. So that's where a good financial planner will help get the balance between a couple in particular. Like my husband is not as risk taker as what I am, but it's getting us back onto the same page so that when we invest, it's on the same wavelength. Not high risk like I do and not low risk like he does. So we get in the middle ground.
And what if a couple have a low income? How they can manage that? How they can work in a way that they can save the money and they can invest the money?
Well, firstly, we all have an investment. Super is our biggest investment, and it's one of the biggest investments that Australians have, is that we are having money regularly going in. So if a couple is low income and they're thinking, we're not investing, well, you already are investing, compulsorily the employer is putting in money on your behalf, and it's recently gone up last year. So percentage of what you earn that the employer has to put in on your behalf. So you're still in the investment system already. And super is one of the best ones for that. We're going to talk about that later. So I would say to someone, if you're low income and you're stressing that you're not catching up with everyone else investing in shares or other managed funds or crypto, don't stress, you're already investing now, which is great. If you're in a low income and I find low income earners generally manage their money a little bit better than high income earners, to be honest, because that's all they got, right? And
Yep.
they know they've only got 50,000 a year, for example, as opposed to 150 or 250 a year. And so they are better. Some of the couples I deal with are better at managing their money, but sometimes they need tweaking, because sometimes when we do their budget, they've realized, we're spending more on this area and that's how we can cut back, or we don't need that, or we can look for other alternatives. So that's where getting the slab down, which is the budgeting spending plan sorted, we know what we can then do next.
Okay. What if there is in a couple, there is one that want to invest and the other one don't want to invest, is terrified of investing? What is the conversation they should have?
It's a matter of getting the education first and finding out what is it they're uncomfortable about investing. That's what a good financial planner does. And that's where what I do is I educate people to have better conversations with financial planners. So it's a matter of what frightens you about investing? Oh, I'm frightened of losing my money. And so where did that come from? Did you see an uncle or family member lose a lot of money? Did they invest in property and lost, especially up the north years ago when the mining dropped and people had investment properties and they lost half their income for their investment and had to sell it for a lower price? Did you see that? How did you grow up? What was the thing that's going on that makes you feel scared about investing? Or do you just not know enough about what investing is? Because like I said, you're investing now. You've got a super fund. If you're working, you've got money going into super. So just finding out the conversation why they're a bit more frightened. And once you find that out, it's a lot easier. And then you can start the next conversation about what are you most comfortable with? How do we work you through to help you so that when you retire, you have some money at the end and not left up to, government and a pension fund, which is actually not going to cover you for a holiday or for any of the other luxuries in life that you're currently used to.
So let's reframe what you just say. You say that to be ready to invest, you need to have one fund as a survival fund, survival things that you can spend in case of
Emergency fund.
emergency fund. Okay. Then you need to have what again?
So firstly, the emergency fund is purely to cover emergencies, car breakdown, things you cannot live without. Air conditioning in Australia, we need our air conditioning because it's so hot. Heating is different because you can always put more jumpers on, but you can't take more skin off, right? So yes, you need to understand your numbers, know your numbers. So you need your budget, your spending plan. That is an area that people still do not know to this day, what's coming in and what's going out. So that's number one. Number two is understanding through the budgeting spending plan your cash flow leaks, where you're spending your money so you can tweak and pull back. When you look at these things, you've identified you've got 10 streaming services that is costing what, $20 each? Imagine if you only needed 2 of those streaming services because that's all you ever really watch. Then you save some money and then you can put it back in and create your emergency fund. So you build your emergency fund up so it takes the pressure off your income in the event of emergency only. Not, I want to go on a holiday because I'm really stressed out. No, that's not an emergency. There's other ways to relieve the stress. Emergencies, you're going to be a lot more stressed if you don't have an emergency fund. If your car breaks down, you need your car to go to work. So
Absolutely.
that's the third part is your budgeting, checking your cash flow leaks, getting your emergency fund sorted. Even if you've got $5,000, $10,000, that's better than nothing. You've got a protection. Then it's looking at managing your debt. So how do we pay those debts down quickly so we can free up some cash to go and have some fun and invest for our future so we can retire earlier or retire comfortably? So debt management. And I'm not just talking about the house. That's another one that we can tackle, but that's the biggest debt for most people. It's tackling those smaller incremental ones that we've just let our money get out of control. And now we're using our credit card to buy for things when we're probably not paying that credit card off every month. And we should be.
Absolutely.
Because it's costing us more. Because it's costing us what? Whatever the fee is for having the privilege of using money in advance. I think it's $35 or $40 per bang on top of what you already owe per month. That's
Absolutely.
that's money going out the door that could be better used for investments.
Absolutely. So again, emergency fund, knowing your expenses. Number two, understand where the money go.
Yep.
Correct.
Yes.
And for managing the debt. That's correct.
Yes.
These 4 steps.
4
Fantastic.
steps.
4 steps. Okay. What else we should know?
What else should we know? That's pretty much it. If you've got that under control, you've got your super fund. So you need to make sure your super fund, because that is one area that people forget, and that's part of your managing your money, is where is your super fund invested? What fees are you paying? Do you have extra insurance in that super fund that is taking away the money that could be used for investing within that investment portfolio? Again, if you're not sure, you can actually check your statements when they come out, or ring your super fund and check. So managing that biggest investment that already is sitting there working for you, that's one of the number 5. I think that's a pretty critical one. And if you don't know, then get your financial planner, if you've got one, to help you understand, or get with the financial planner to make sure it's working for you. Otherwise, you're going to be paying out on, because most of these super funds, when you set up, it has a death and TPD, which is the total disability benefit, and you may be having more of it that's taking out of your growth of your fund, or your fees are coming out, that you probably don't need as high super as already been allocated towards you. So it's checking your fund, checking where it's sitting as well, making sure it's working for you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I have a question about superannuation. We will talk about superannuation in the next episode. But here, the difference between superannuation and an investment in
non-super investment, we call that.
Yeah. What is the difference between superannuation and, for example, in SP 500, for example?
Okay. So if you invest in your super fund, it means that money is coming from you're not paying it out of your after tax money. So you basically get, say, $1,000, and the employer takes off, say, $10, and then you get taxed on the remainder. Okay. It's a different tax system as well, which is a whole other topic, but effectively super funds are more tax effective for you. Where if I go and invest in, say, the direct index fund, the S&P or ASX 200, which is the top 200 stocks in Australia, I'm actually investing after I've already paid my tax. I now put that tax money, the leftover money, and I basically invest in that. The difference is it's taxed differently as well. And that's another conversation again. But one is taxed differently. It's still an investment. It's just the way that the structure is for that investment.
Okay. Maybe you cannot answer this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What is better, superannuation or another different type of investment?
You're right. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
For legal reasons. However, super is still one of the best investments, along with other investments. But super is still one of the most tax effective investments within Australia for everyone to consider. And that's why when you have the right financial planner before you're ready to retire, they may talk about maximising your contributions within super, because there are different tax structures and benefits if you're partnered or single on how to maximise that for you, as opposed to doing it after tax dollars. So it's a part of a strategy. And it's not necessarily all of a strategy. It depends on who you are as a person, as an investor.
Absolutely.
But for me, I had super. I still got super. I've had property and I had shares. So it was depending on what my investment strategy was. And that's why I always say, before you do anything outside of investing, you need to speak to a financial planner, a good financial planner who listens and understands what your comfort levels are, what your strategies are. But first thing is get your super fund sorted first, because that is a vehicle that's already working there for you, and we've all got one. And then once you're comfortable with that and you say, well, I really want to invest in shares because I really love shares. Fantastic. We've sorted that out. Now how do we make that happen? Because you've got extra cash now, extra cash flow, and we've maximised our contributions in super. So let's go outside and look at other strategies.
Very, very good. How do you move couple from we should invest to actually do it?
Well, some couples are not going to invest because they're not comfortable. So we don't have to move them. It's what their comfort level is. It's a matter of working with what they've already got to make it work for them. Like, they've already got super, so maybe the financial planner will work that best. And some couples don't want to do shares. They don't want to invest in property. And maybe tax-wise, if they're still working, it's not tax effective for them to invest outside of the superannuation area. So I would never push anyone to do anything they don't want to do. It's about working with what they've already got and making sure that they're comfortable with what they want to do and what they want to get to at the end of their working life, so they've got the money that they need to live the life they want to live.
Hmm. I have a question that actually, if the answer that you're going to give me will just be personal opinion and is not a suggestion to anyone. Do you think with the market that we have today in Australia with the property is actually a good investment? Still a good investment?
Okay, so I'm going to give you different schools of thoughts here.
Mhm.
If you ask an accountant, some say yes, some say no. Okay. If you ask a financial planner, some say yes, some say no, right? So it's like, it's all different. Some financial planners go no because the long-term growth and what you're going to get compared to other investments might be better going down that way. From a personal point of view, it's what you're comfortable with. Australians like driving around to see that's my house, bricks and mortar. They like seeing that that's it. Where a share portfolio, it's hard to see on a piece of paper. But driving around the suburb, go, that's my house. I've got that. My tenant's in there. For some people, that's great. I personally like a blend because I like investments. So I like different investments because I'm all about hedging my bets when different markets move in different areas, like property moves differently to when shares does sometimes, to when other areas of investments are. So it is very personal. It is not a one size fits all motto. It's about what does that person's comfort level. Like some accountants don't like property because they think it's not a good investment return when they do the numbers compared to share portfolio. Some financial planners don't like property because they think that managed funds is a better return for that client. So it's really personal and there's not a one size fits all. It's just getting the right information so that
Right.
that person is comfortable where they want to invest. So when they put their head on the pillow at night, they sleep. They're not going, oh, what's happened to my investment? What's happened to my property? They have to be, that individual who is investing has to be comfortable, no matter what the financial planner says as well. They still have to be comfortable putting their head on pillow at night going, I'm comfortable with my investment strategy.
Absolutely. My question, because I follow a little bit on the what was going on with the estate here in Australia, and it looked like it's going nuts,
Mm,
and um, and there is no property. Of-
mm.
We believe there is no property. I'm not sure if there is no property, but the mainstream say there is no property, and I wonder if it's still actually a good investment. I personally don't like it because I don't care. I don't care to have houses. Okay. So I don't need a big house. Actually, we downgrade. We
Hmm.
go in a small house. Uh, is personally is not something I'm very attracted. But yeah, I was wondering with the cost of the house, if it's actually a good investment, if
Well,
one day it will come down because it have to come down.
they probably don't come down. They'll actually stay the same because I've never known properties to actually, apart from up north when they invested up in Karratha and that, to them to drop. But in Perth and the major cities, they generally sort of hold. Very few times do they drop such a big steep, but they might level off. Um, Oh, it's a hard
Yeah.
one. I've always made money out of property, but everyone used to say you hang on to it between 8 and 10 years because that's when the market cycles are. But I
Mm.
mean, when we had that crazy boom years ago before, I mean, I doubled my money on a property that,
No.
within 3 years. It's just,
Yeah.
but I wasn't doing that. I didn't buy that property for that reason. I bought it, lived in it. I moved to Queensland, and then I used it as an investment to buy the next one because you use the equity to buy as well. And then I
Mhm.
was just fortunate enough that I went, right, the market's moving. I'm actually going to flip this house now, and I doubled my money on that one. But there's no guarantees with
No,
investing.
no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
And my
yeah.
grandparents, being Italians, they owned a lot of land down the south, and they then the developers came in and said, oh, we want to develop it for housing. So they made money on that. But
Mm.
they went and bought it, not with the intention for developing, they bought it for use for land because we're dairy farmers. But the benefit was it made them money. So it depends on what your investment psyche is all about. For me, I still like property, but am I investing in it now? No, it's expensive. It's not part of my strategy right now,
Mm.
and I've sold everything I've had.
Yeah.
Mine is a different strategy right now. I'm looking at the super because of my age, and down the track I'll get some shares. I love shares, right? Because
Yes.
I
Yeah.
like that it moves and I can hang on to it and I can actually will them down the track to my daughter if I want to. So that's just me, but
Yeah.
everyone's different what their comfort level is. And people are, there is a shortage of supply at the moment with property, and
Mm.
that's why the demand is high and people are having to pay more to get in because there's not enough properties around. So it is a seller's market right now, not a buyer's.
Yeah, no, it's got very crazy in some places. Next to my neighbor went up of between 1 million, 1.5 million, and this base water is just here, and it's nuts.
Well, when I was
Absolutely.
broking a couple of years ago, prices that would probably sit around 550, 600 was selling for 800, 900. Now, that's a huge jump. And I've felt for people actually having to get more deposit or get them more equity together to buy into it. And often looking, going, young kids today, it is a tougher gig, even
Yeah.
if they're earning good money and they're saving that. It's harder to get in because the price is higher. So they've got to get more together to actually buy it. So no wonder families are now taking their kids back because it's quite expensive.
Quite expensive. No, and then you think, well, I know I sold because now my house value money.
Mm.
Okay, I'm going to buy another house. The problem is there's no difference between one suburb to another one. If you want to go in a good suburb, you're going to spend more
Yeah.
money to match with what you make. So,
Do you know what, Mauro? I was just
mm,
reminded myself of I worked for a company and one of the owner directors never owned his house, right? During his working life. He lived in Cottesloe, he rented in Cottesloe. He invested in the share market and other investments. When he got out of the business, granted he had some business income that he got from it as well, but he had other shareholders. He then went and bought a property in Noosa and said that he would never buy during his own working life. For him, he found out it was more beneficial and faster to grow his wealth by investing shares and renting and use that extra money to invest in share market. So horses for courses, hey?
hey, who knows
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
right? Who
It's
knows
all
what is
personal.
right? You know what you're right. Well, I'm curious. Curious about this property thing. I know I never really get it. Um, Probably because my family never really invested
Hmm.
in property. But in Italy, I find as well that we don't have this vision in investing, even in what's called in share market. We don't have these things. Or anyway, my family didn't have this thing
Hmm.
because they grew up in a moment where um, investing in share in market wasn't profitable. So they were investing in other things. Um,
What did they invest in?
um, they invest in a family, and they invest in a family to buy a better property, a bigger property,
Hmm.
uh, and how we do in Italy, we buy a building and then we put the family in the building. Okay, we
Right.
do floors in the building.
Yeah.
That was the investment. It's a property investment if you want to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but yeah, it's interesting how the world is changing around investing.
Mm.
Do you think there's a big change here in Australia about investing in the last 20, 30 years?
Think so, from my opinion and what I'm seeing.
Mm.
We still like property, we still like shares. We've got more people wanting to buy into property because they got caught into that let's go, go, go. It's the boom market. I don't see that we've changed too much. Apart from crypto, people are investing more into crypto now, which that's a big change. Um,
What do you think about crypto? Just your opinion. I don't want you to say it is good or not. Just your opinion.
I'm personally not a fan. I've got other things I'd rather invest in that I can see returns that work for my style. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't like something out there that I can't touch. I like to know that I can get my hands on it whenever I want quickly. And some
Mm.
crypto specialists say you can get it quickly. Yeah, but it's not my style of investing. So
Okay.
yeah, I know a lot of people love it, but it's not something I'm comfortable with.
Mm. Okay. Do you think, again, is your opinion? Do you think is more risky as an investment, crypto, than the classic investment?
Can't really answer that because I don't know
Mm.
enough, or I choose not to know enough about it because that's not my style. But if you ask some, they say it's less risky. But I don't know. It is becoming the way of the world. Bitcoin and cryptos all becoming, even banks. I've heard back then when I was broking that they were trying to work out ways how they could use crypto as part of their deposit. But they haven't managed that yet because they haven't worked out how they can get it out so they can secure it. So, that in itself is enough to say that if the banks can't use crypto as a form of security like cash or equity, then we're still figuring it out. But other experts will have different opinions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Can you give us your last quote of the day? What do you want to say to the listeners of this program about investing?
Learn how to save, because one day it might just save you more than you realize.
Learn how to save. Thank you, Karen, from Financial Management 101. This is the third episode. We will catch up next week and we're going to talk about superannuation that we touch a little bit today. Thank you, Karen. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.